So the Super Bowl 59 matchup is officially set, and in today's video, we'll break down both conference championship matchups, including Philly's dominant run game and yet another epic playoff battle between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes right after. Alright, first up, the Commanders went into Philly with Jayden Daniels looking to become the first rookie quarterback to ever win 3 playoff games and bring his team to a Super Bowl. Never before has a team had a rookie quarterback make it to the Super Bowl. Well, unfortunately, the Commanders ran into the buzzsaw that is the Philadelphia Eagles. It was actually kind of hilarious how this game started. Washington got the opening kickoff and put together an 18-play drive, converting 2 fourth downs and eventually settling for 3 on the third fourth down. Took 7 minutes off the clock, and after all that, Philly gets the ball. And on the very first play, Saquon takes this pitch, breaks a tackle, spins out of another, cuts across field, and takes it home for a 60-yard touchdown on the first play from scrimmage. That was his 3rd touchdown of over 60 yards this postseason alone, by the way, making him the first player in NFL history to accomplish that. Saquon, of course, wasn't finished after that touchdown, and after Reed Blankenship recovered this fumble, Saquon found pay dirt for the second time in 2 possessions. He scored another one in the fourth quarter when the game was already out of reach to secure his hat trick, and when it was all said and done, Saquon finished with 118 yards and those 3 scores on just 15 carries, his lowest amount of carries in a game since week 10. They didn't need to run him into the ground though, because this game got away from Washington pretty early in the second half. They were throwing some punches in the first half. Okay, credit to them. They converted this fake punt, which led to a field goal, and then Scary Terry made their best play of the day, turning a simple slant route into a 36-yard touchdown after breaking a tackle. Well, as a team, they scored 15 first-half points, which would normally be respectable, but the Eagles scored touchdowns on 4 of their 5 first-half drives to take a 27-15 lead into halftime. Jayden Daniels put on a nice move here to find the end zone, but this would be Washington's only points of the entire second half. Meanwhile, Philly was all gas, no breaks, scoring 3 more touchdowns in the third and fourth quarters as they dominated Washington 55-23, and they obviously advanced to Super Bowl 59. Jalen Hurts played a pretty great game, completing 20 of 28 passes for 246 yards and a touchdown through the air to complement the dominant run game. I thought his knee would be a bit of an issue in this one, maybe even affect his ability to throw downfield, but he seemed to move well and obviously threw the ball great. As a team, they ran the ball 36 times for 229 yards and an absurd 7 touchdowns, which tied the 1940 Chicago Bears for the most rushing touchdowns by a team in a playoff game. That is wild. They literally had more rushing touchdowns rather, in this one game than the Dallas Cowboys did the entire season. Jalen Hurts may have had the funniest stat line of all time on top of that. 10 carries for 16 yards and 3 touchdowns. Those are tush-push numbers right there. A.J. Brown got going as well. He's been radio silent the past couple of weeks, but he did lead the team in receiving yards with 96 and caught a touchdown in the first half. That book he's been reading has definitely been helping. Then you have to give a ton of credit to Philly's defense. They forced 4 turnovers, including 3 fumbles, which never allowed Washington to get back into the game. Obviously, in a game of this magnitude, the Final Four, typically when you lose the turnover battle, you're going to end up losing that game. It's obviously a disappointing finish for Washington, but this season as a whole has been nothing short of incredible. Their projected win total was at 6.5 before the season started, and they were projected to be the 3rd or maybe 4th best team in the NFC East by some. Instead, they nearly doubled their win projection by winning 12 games, won their first playoff game in nearly 20 years, beat the number 1 seed Lions on the road, and made it to the NFC Championship, all with a rookie quarterback. So, while this loss definitely stings in the moment for the team and their fan base, they have one of the brightest futures of any team in the NFL. After all, Jayden Daniels is their franchise quarterback, and they have several more years of him on his rookie deal. So you can build around that in free agency and start to stack some talent up over there, even more talent up over there before he ends up getting a huge second contract. As for the Eagles, they punched their ticket back to the Super Bowl for the second time in 3 years. We'll see if they have Landon Dickerson for that game, though. He left yesterday's game with a knee injury, and the severity of it is unknown at this point. On top of that, center Cam Jurgens also ended up needing to play with Dickerson banged up, as Cam himself was dealing with some back soreness and wasn't going to play. Well, when Dickerson was dealing with the knee, Cam then had to come in and finish out the game, and they both were looking gimpy after the game, walking to the locker room. Now, they have a couple of weeks to heal up, so I'm sure they're going to play, but the question is, how close to 100% will they actually be? Then running back Kenneth Gainwell suffered a concussion yesterday on top of all that, but again, 2 weeks should, in theory, be plenty of time for him to get back into the big game. They may also have Brandon Graham back, which would be a big boost. He's been out since November with a torn triceps, but could come off of IR and be activated for the game if he's healthy enough. He said he's going to meet with the medical staff this week and see where he's at, but it's definitely something he's been working toward. And while the NFC Championship game was not really competitive or close, the matchup in the AFC was definitely the opposite of that. KC got on the board first with Kareem Hunt knifing through the defense for this 12-yard score. There were 3 lead changes in the first half alone. The Bills took the lead with a 53-yard field goal and a James Cook touchdown to capitalize on a costly Chiefs fumble. Mahomes then hit Xavier Worthy on a quick out, and he dove for the end zone to re-give KC the lead 14-10. Thank you, Bills front office, for trading the pick that became Xavier Worthy to the Chiefs on draft night, by the way. I'm sure last night hurt like hell to watch because he led the team in targets, yards, and catches, actually going over 100 scrimmage yards, plus he had that touchdown catch. The Chiefs built onto their lead thanks to Nico Remigio setting them up nicely with this 41-yard punt return. Then it looked like this pass was potentially picked, but guess who? Xavier Worthy wrangled it away from the rookie Cole Bishop and came down with the grab that was good for 26 yards. Mahomes then finished the job, rolling to his right and plowing over Damar Hamlin in the end zone. The Bills made it a one-score game before halftime, though, as Josh Allen led a perfect 2-minute drill and fired a beauty to Mac Hollins, who made an impressive grab over Trent McDuffie, though the Chiefs shut down the 2-point attempt, and it was a 21-26 game at the break. Buffalo forced KC to punt on their opening possession of the second half, then put together a 12-play drive that featured 2 fourth-down conversions, including this play on the goal line. Here's what happened. Josh Allen pitched it to James Cook, who stretched out once again to give Buffalo the lead 22-21 after yet another 2-point attempt got stopped. And this moment in the fourth quarter felt like the tipping point in this game. The Bills were driving, looking to build onto their lead, but were facing another 4th and 1 in KC territory. Well, they tried to pick it up with a tush push, but the Chiefs defense held strong, forcing the turnover on downs. Replay Assist reviewed it and didn't find enough evidence to overturn the ruling on the field, much to the displeasure of basically everybody on social media that was not a Chiefs fan. After that, Mahomes fired a strike to Juju Smith-Schuster, who raced ahead for 29 yards. Then Mahomes faked the handoff. This is insane. It was the same play that Kareem Hunt ran in for a touchdown early on in the game, but obviously Mahomes handed it off to him. Well, this time he kept it, went right, followed his blockers for his second rushing touchdown of the day. Pat then displayed how to properly execute a 2-point conversion by hitting Justin Watson in the back of the end zone to put them up 29-22, 7 points up by the Chiefs. Well, the Bills were not going to go quietly into the night, though, and after Mac Hollins made another big catch to put them at the 4, Curtis Samuel was somehow left wide open on 4th and goal, and that tied the game at 29 apiece. So with 6 minutes left, the Chiefs worked their way down to the 10, but Mahomes took a costly sack that they couldn't overcome and actually had to take the lead via a field goal, which made it just 32-29, 3.5 minutes left in this game. And I definitely thought that was way too much time for Allen and company because they had all 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. Well, after picking up just 1 first down, Josh Allen did it with his legs. They found themselves in 4th and 5 with the game on the line. Spags, of course, sent pressure on a cornerback blitz, fooling Josh Allen, and George Karlaftis flew past his blocker. That caused Josh Allen to have to throw a prayer up off of his back leg as George Karlaftis threw him to the ground. And honestly, Josh Allen's pass was pretty freaking good. He gave tight end Dalton Kincaid a pretty good chance to make the catch, yet sadly for Bills fans and everybody hate watching, he couldn't haul it in, and the result was another turnover on downs. KC was then able to ice the game after a couple of first down passes to their running backs to move the chains, and 32-29 was how Buffalo fell to the Chiefs for the 4th straight time in the playoffs. It was an absolutely insane game that couldn't have been more fitting for these two teams. The Chiefs are headed back to the Super Bowl for the 5th time in 6 years with a chance at a three-peat and become the first team in NFL history to do so. Mahomes had yet another special playoff performance, throwing for 245 yards and a touchdown. Plus, he had another 43 yards on the ground and those 2 rushing touchdowns. Well, he surprisingly had 4 more rushing yards on the same amount of carries as Josh Allen and 2 more scores than Josh Allen did, which was not on my bingo card. Now, Allen had a great game as well. He threw the ball well, really similar numbers to Mahomes, all things considered, but I thought the Chiefs' defense did a phenomenal job at limiting his impact on the ground. A part of me honestly does feel a little bit bad for Josh Allen at this point. I mean, he's 0-4 against the Kansas City Chiefs in the postseason and has still never won a road playoff game in his 7-year career. Well, if Patrick Mahomes didn't exist, there's a world where Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow could all have Super Bowl rings. The problem is, for them at least, Patrick Mahomes is alive and well, and he'll be attempting to become just the 3rd quarterback in NFL history to win 4 or more Super Bowls. That would be insane considering he's just 29 years old, and he still has around a decade of football left to be played. After that win, by the way, Mahomes did pass Joe Montana for the 2nd most playoff wins in NFL history with 17, but Tom Brady is obviously still way up there at number 1 with 35 postseason wins. And with the conclusion of these 2 games, I know that now means it's a Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles rematch, Super Bowl 57 rematch, and most fans are pissed about that. You would have much rather seen probably the Buffalo Bills and the Lions, or just 2 teams that haven't been there in a while. Well, too bad. So sad. It should be a great game, though, between 2 juggernaut teams. It's going to have a lot of other great storylines and takeaways that I'll cover in a video later this week, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, you guys got to let me know your thoughts on these conference championship games, as well as who you think is going to come away with the Lombardi down in the comments below. And then for the Super Bowl, you should probably use code CBTH on Underdog to sign up. We had a few wins. You can see here on the screen, screenshot of some of my picks. We had some W's, and we're hoping to do that and make a repeat of some of that for you all for this Super Bowl game. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on all that in the comments down below with these 2 games, the outcomes, all of it. And with that, I'll see y'all next time.